We humans often walk through the world as if we are its primary observers, perceiving reality as it is. We trust our five senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, to deliver a complete and accurate picture of our surroundings. This assumption is, to put it mildly, an illusion of specialization. The reality is that our sensory bubble, our Umwelt, is profoundly limited. We are blind to vast spectrums of light, deaf to symphonies of sound, and numb to subtle energies that guide other creatures. The animal kingdom operates on channels of information we can barely detect, let alone comprehend. For them, the world is painted in ultraviolet colors, mapped by magnetic fields, and navigated through echoes. To study animals is to be humbled. It is to accept that the reality we experience is just one version among millions. The truly interesting things about animals often begin not with their bizarre shapes or behaviors, but with the fundamentally different ways they sense the very fabric of the world. The limits of perception, senses beyond human comprehension, seeing with sound, echolocation. In the total darkness of a cave or the murky depths of a river, our eyes are useless. For a bat or a dolphin, this is not a problem. These creatures have mastered the art of seeing with sound through echolocation. A bat hunting insects emits a rapid-fire series of high-frequency clicks, far beyond the range of human hearing. These sound waves travel outward, strike an object, like a tiny moth, and bounce back. The bat's exquisitely sensitive ears and sophisticated brain capture this echo. The time it takes for the echo to return reveals the moth's distance. The difference in time and intensity as the echo hits each ear reveals its precise direction. Some bats can even detect the faint flutter of the moth's wings, distinguishing it from a falling leaf. They build a three-dimensional auditory map of their surroundings in real time, allowing them to navigate complex forests and hunt in complete darkness. Dolphins use a similar, more powerful system. Their clicks are focused through a fatty organ in their forehead called the melon, which acts like an acoustic lens. This sonar is so precise it can not only find fish, but can also give dolphins a rough X-ray view, allowing them to sense the fish's internal structure, and even, some scientists believe, the panicked heartbeat of their prey. The electric sense, electroreception. Water is an excellent conductor of electricity. While we might fear a toaster in the bathtub, some aquatic predators have learned to harness this property. Sharks, skates, and rays possess a sixth sense called electroreception. Dotted around a shark's snout are dozens of tiny, jelly-filled pores known as the ampullae of Lorenzini. These pores are incredibly sensitive electroreceptors. How sensitive? They can detect the faint electrical fields generated by the muscle contractions of other living things. A fish hidden under the sand, completely invisible and silent, is still broadcasting its presence simply by breathing or twitching a fin. A shark can detect this faint bioelectric field, as weak as a few millionths of a volt, and strike with perfect accuracy. The platypus, a mammal, independently evolved a similar system in its bill, which it sweeps back and forth along riverbeds to find hidden shrimp and crayfish. The internal compass, magnetoreception. For decades, scientists were baffled by the pinpoint accuracy of animal migration. How does an Arctic tern fly 44,000 miles from the North Pole to the South Pole and back, finding the same nesting spot each time? How do sea turtles, hatched on a specific beach, cross an entire ocean and return decades later to the exact same spot to lay their own eggs? The answer, which we are only just beginning to understand, is magnetoreception. These animals, and many others, including birds, salmon, and even some insects, can sense the Earth's magnetic field. They use it as a global, infallible compass. The mechanism is still debated, but the leading theory for birds is a form of quantum physics. Inside the bird's eye, a specific protein contains molecules that, when struck by light, become entangled with an unpaired electron. The Earth's magnetic field influences the spin of this electron, which in turn sends a different signal to the bird's brain. In essence, the bird sees the magnetic field, perhaps as a pattern of light or shadow superimposed on its normal vision, allowing it to know its direction, north or south, and even its latitude, how far from the equator it is at all times. The evolutionary arms race. In the natural world, every day is a life or death struggle. This relentless pressure to eat and to avoid being eaten has fueled an evolutionary arms race that has lasted for hundreds of millions of years. The result is a staggering collection of adaptations that border on the magical. Predators evolve sharper senses, and prey evolve better defenses. This back and forth has produced some of the most brilliant and bizarre survival strategies on the planet. Camouflage, mimicry, and chemical warfare. Hiding in plain sight. Camouflage. The simplest defense is to not be seen at all. Camouflage, also known as crypsis, is the art of blending into the background. Static. Camouflage. Many animals are simply born with a pattern that matches their environment. The mottled brown feathers of a nightjar make it indistinguishable from the forest floor where it nests. The leaf-tailed gecko of Madagascar is a living masterpiece. Its body is flattened. Its skin is textured like moss and lichen, and its tail is shaped precisely like a dead, decaying leaf. Stick insects have evolved to be nearly perfect replicas of the twigs they rest on, even swaying gently as if moved by a breeze. Active camouflage. The true masters of camouflage, however, are the cephalopods. An octopus or cuttlefish can change its color, pattern, and even its texture in less than a second. Their skin is a living computer screen, embedded with thousands of pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores. By flexing tiny muscles around each sac, the octopus can instantly expand or contract it, flashing new colors and creating complex traveling patterns. Beneath this layer, iridophores, reflective plates, and leucophores, white light scatterers, allow them to fine-tune their appearance to perfectly match the brightness and color of their surroundings. Most astonishingly, they can activate muscular bumps on their skin called papilla to change their texture from smooth to spiky, perfectly mimicking the rough texture of a rock or a piece of coral. The art of the imposter. Mimicry. Camouflage is about hiding. Mimicry is about lying. It's the art of resembling something else, something dangerous, unappetizing, or simply uninteresting. Bayesian mimicry. This is the classic bluff. A harmless species evolves to look like a dangerous one. The most famous example is the harmless hoverfly, which has no stinger but has evolved the black and yellow stripes of a bee or wasp. Predators who have learned the hard way to avoid stinging insects will also avoid the hoverfly. Similarly, the harmless milk snake has evolved the red, yellow, and black banding pattern of the highly venomous coral snake. Mullerian. Mimicry. This is a group effort. In this case, two or more different species, all of which are dangerous or unpalatable, evolve to look like each other. The black and yellow stripes of various bees, wasps, and hornets are a prime example. By sharing one universal warning sign, they all benefit. A predator only needs one bad experience with any member of the club to learn to avoid all of them, reducing the number of individuals that must be sacrificed from each species. Aggressive. Mimicry. Sometimes the predator is the mimic. The alligator snapping turtle is a perfect example. It lies perfectly still on the river bottom, its mouth wide open. Its tongue, however, features a small, pink, fleshy appendage that it wiggles. To a passing fish, this looks exactly like a delicious worm. When the fish swims in for a snack, the turtle's jaws snap shut. The deep-sea anglerfish uses a similar tactic, dangling a bioluminescent lure from its head to attract prey in the total darkness. A toxic arsenal. Chemical warfare. When camouflage and mimicry fail, the last line of defense is often a chemical one. Aposematism, warning coloration. The poison dart frog is one of the most toxic animals on Earth. It doesn't hide. Instead, it advertises its lethality with brilliant, fluorescent colors, bright blues, yellows, and reds. This is called aposematism. The colors serve as a warning sign that predators learn to associate with a terrible experience or death. Interestingly, the frogs don't produce their poison, batrachotoxin, themselves. They get it from the toxic ants and mites they eat, sequestering the toxins and storing them in their skin. Defensive spray. The bombardier beetle has one of the most extraordinary chemical weapons in nature. It's a walking chemical reactor. Inside its abdomen, it has two separate chambers. One stores hydrogen peroxide, and the other stores hydroquinones. When threatened by a predator, like an ant or a frog, the beetle pumps these two chemicals into a third, thick-walled combustion chamber. It adds a catalyst, and an explosive chemical reaction occurs. The reaction generates intense heat. The beetle then aims this boiling, noxious spray out of a movable turret on its abdomen, scalding and repelling its attacker. Animal architects. When we think of engineering, we think of human ingenuity, of blueprints, hard hats, and complex machinery. Yet, all around us, animal architects are performing feats of engineering that rival our own, and in some cases, even surpass them in terms of efficiency and sustainability. These creatures don't just build shelters. They build climate-controlled towers, massive hydroelectric projects, and traps from materials stronger than steel. They solve complex problems of physics, hydrology, and material science using nothing but instinct, teamwork, and the raw materials of their environment. The termite, lung, self-cooling cathedrals. In the sweltering savannas of Africa, some species of termites, like macroterms, build colossal mounds that can stand over 6 meters, 20 feet, tall. These structures are far more than just nests. They are sophisticated, self-regulating HVAC systems for a subterranean colony of millions. The problem: the colony lives deep underground, centered around a fungal garden that serves as its sole food source. This fungus, along with the termite's own metabolic activity, generates an immense amount of heat and carbon dioxide. Without ventilation, the colony would quickly cook and suffocate. The engineering solution. The mound acts as a giant, porous lung. It is built with a complex network of internal tunnels and conduits. A large, central chimney rises from the nest's core. As hot, CO2-rich air from the colony rises up this chimney, it creates a pressure difference. This, combined with the wind flowing over the mound's surface, drives a passive ventilation cycle. Hot air exits through tiny pores at the top, while cool, fresh air is drawn in through smaller flues and tunnels at the base. This constant, gentle airflow maintains the underground chamber at a remarkably stable temperature and humidity, day and night, through scorching heat and cool evenings. The perfect conditions for their fungus to grow. The beaver. Dam. Ecosystem engineering. Beavers are one of the few animals, other than humans, that will dramatically and intentionally re-engineer an entire landscape to suit their needs. Their goal is simple: create a deep, stable pond. The problem: beavers are clumsy on land, making them easy prey for wolves, bears, and coyotes. Their food, tree bark, is also on land. They need a safe way to live and access their food. The engineering solution. They build a dam. Beavers fell trees, often several tons, by gnawing at the base, then drag them into a flowing stream, lodging them into the riverbed. They meticulously pile more logs, branches, rocks, and mud onto this foundation. They are expert hydrologists, instinctively building in a slight curve against the current for maximum structural integrity. The resulting pond serves two critical purposes. Safety. They build their lodge, a dome of sticks and mud, in the middle of the new pond. The only entrances are underwater, creating a perfect predator-proof fortress. Food access. The deep water allows them to swim safely to nearby trees. It also serves as a winter refrigerator. They cut branches and sink them into the mud at the bottom of the pond. When the surface freezes, they can swim out of their lodge and access this submerged food cache, safe from the winter and predators above. Their work is so transformative, they are known as keystone species, or ecosystem engineers. Their dams create vast wetlands that filter pollutants, slow floodwaters, and become vital habitats for hundreds of other species, from fish and frogs to waterfowl. The spider's silk. A material science. Marvel. Perhaps the most astounding per capita engineer is the common garden spider. The web it spins is not just a passive trap. It's a marvel of material science and structural engineering. The material, spider silk, is a protein-based polymer that, ounce for ounce, is stronger than steel and far more elastic than nylon. A single strand of spider silk, if scaled up to the thickness of a pencil, could reportedly stop a moving 747. Spiders can produce up to 7 different types of silk from different glands, each for a specific purpose. Dragline silk, extremely strong and non-sticky, used for the outer frame of the web and as a safety line. Capture silk, incredibly elastic and coated in a glue of sticky, hygroscopic droplets that absorb water from the air. Wrapping silk, used to quickly immobilize struggling prey. The structure, the classic orb web, is a masterpiece of efficiency. The spider first creates a strong, non-sticky frame and radial spokes like a bicycle wheel, using dragline silk. This provides the structural integrity. Then, it spirals outward or inward, laying down the sticky, elastic capture silk. The spider itself moves only on the non-sticky radial lines. This design is optimized to absorb the kinetic energy of a flying insect without breaking, while also telegraphing alert vibrations straight to the spider, more than just barking and chirping. Communication is the glue that holds animal societies together. For humans, it's primarily a world of sound and sight. For the rest of the animal kingdom, it's an incredibly rich and often bizarre tapestry of chemical signals, coded light, and complex interpretive dance. Animals need to solve the same basic problems we do. Find a mate, warn of danger, establish territory, and point to a food source. But their solutions are far more varied, and in many cases, more elegant. They have evolved to send messages that can travel for miles, last for days, or be seen in the darkest abyss. The chemical internet. Pheromones. One of the most ancient and widespread forms of communication is chemical. Pheromones are specific chemical compounds released by an animal that, when detected by another member of the same species, trigger a specific behavioral or physiological response. It's a language of scent, invisible but powerfully effective. Finding a mate. The female silk moth, Bombyx mori, uses one of the most potent pheromones known. She releases a chemical called bombicol from a gland in her abdomen. The male moth's antennae are so exquisitely sensitive, they can detect just a single molecule of this chemical. Upon detection, he is instinctively driven to fly upwind, following the faint scent trail for miles to find the female. Marking territory. When a wolf or a dog urinates on a tree, it's not just relieving itself. It's leaving a complex chemical status update. The scent contains information about the animal's identity, its sex, its social rank, and even its stress level. This scent post acts as a billboard, claiming territory and warning off rivals, sounding the alarm. When an ant is crushed or attacked by a predator, its body ruptures and releases an alarm pheromone. As this chemical cloud diffuses, nearby ants detect it and are instantly thrown into a state of agitated aggression, swarming to defend the colony. They, in turn, may release the same pheromone, creating a cascading wave of alarm that spreads rapidly through the nest. Speaking with light. Bioluminescence. In the deep ocean, below 200 meters, sunlight cannot penetrate. This twilight zone and the midnight zone below it are not dark, however. They are filled with the living light of bioluminescence. Here, light is not for seeing. It's for talking, attraction, and identification. Fireflies are the most familiar example on land. Each species flashes a unique, coded sequence. A male Photinus piralis might flash, pause for 2 seconds, and flash again. A female on the ground will see this and, if she's the correct species, flash back after a precise delay, allowing the male to home in. In the deep sea, flashlight fish have a light-producing organ under their eyes that they can blink on and off by covering it with a black lid, sending signals to potential mates in the dark. The burglar alarm. Some deep-sea jellyfish and comb jellies have a brilliant defense. When grabbed by a predator, like a small shrimp, they don't fight back. Instead, they produce a spectacular, flashing light show. This doesn't scare the shrimp, but it does attract the attention of larger predators, like a squid, that would love to eat the shrimp. The predator is illuminated, and in the ensuing chaos, the jellyfish has a chance to escape. Luring prey. The most famous bioluminescent communicator is the female anglerfish. In the pitch-black abyss, she dangles a fleshy, glowing lure from her forehead, teeming with light-producing bacteria. She wiggles this lure like a small worm or shrimp, attracting smaller fish. When a curious victim gets close, her massive, tooth-filled jaws snap shut. The waggle dance. Cartography in motion. Perhaps the most sophisticated and abstract form of animal communication is the waggle dance of the honeybee, first decoded by scientist Carl von Frisch. When a forager bee returns to the hive after finding a rich source of nectar, she performs a specific dance on the vertical surface of the honeycomb to tell her sisters exactly where to go. The dance is a symbolic map. The direction. The bee's dance is a figure 8, the central waggle run is the key. The angle of this run, relative to the vertical line of the comb, straight up, indicates the direction of the food source relative to the position of the sun. If the bee dances straight up, it means fly directly toward the sun. If she dances 30 degrees to the left of vertical, it means fly 30 degrees to the left of the sun. The other bees feel this dance in the dark hive, interpreting the angle perfectly. The distance. The duration of the waggle run tells the other bees how far away the food is. A very short waggle, e.g., 1 second, might mean 500 meters away, while a longer waggle, e.g., 3 seconds, could mean 2,000 meters away. The quality, the enthusiasm and speed of the waggle convey the quality and abundance of the food. Thinking, feeling, and problem-solving. For a long time, intelligence was a word humans reserved for themselves. We defined it by our own specific abilities: complex language, abstract thought, and self-awareness. This narrow definition made it easy to dismiss the rest of the animal kingdom as creatures of simple instinct. We were wrong. Animal intelligence is not a ladder with humans at the top. It's a diverse and branching tree. Different minds have evolved to solve different problems. An octopus's intelligence is a product of a solitary life of ambush and escape in a complex 3D environment. A crow's intelligence is shaped by social living, an omnivorous diet, and the need to remember, plan, and outwit. While we may not find a philosopher in a dolphin, we can find a problem solver, a planner, and perhaps even a person with a different kind of mind. The feathered apes, corvids. The corvid family, which includes crows, ravens, jays, and magpies, demonstrates an intelligence that directly rivals that of primates. Their brains, relative to their body size, are enormous, and their cognitive abilities are stunning. Complex problem solving. Corvids, particularly New Caledonian crows, are famous tool users. In the wild, they craft specialized hook tools from twigs to winkle grubs out of logs. In labs, they show a staggering grasp of cause and effect. In one famous experiment, a crow was presented with a tube of water containing a floating treat just out of reach. The crow, without any training, began dropping heavy objects into the tube to raise the water level, precisely reenacting Aesop's fable of the crow and the pitcher. Planning for the future. A scrub jay will not only hide, cache food for later, it will remember what it hid, where it hid it, and who was watching. If it knows another jay saw it hide a prized snack, it will return later when alone, to re-hide that snack in a new, secret location. This suggests a form of theory of mind, the ability to understand the mental state of another individual. In this case, that other J knows my secret. Facial recognition. Crows can recognize and remember individual human faces. Researchers at the University of Washington captured crows while wearing a specific, dangerous mask. Years later, crows on campus would not only scold and dive-bomb anyone wearing that specific mask, but they also taught this association to their offspring and other flock members who had never been captured. The alien mind, cephalopods. If we want to find a truly different kind of intelligence, we must look to the octopus. We are separated by over 500 million years of evolution. Their intelligence is a case of remarkable convergent evolution, an alien mind that evolved in parallel to our own. A distributed brain. An octopus's intelligence is not centralized in its head. It has a distributed nervous system. Of its 500 million neurons, a dog has about the same. More than 2/3 are located in its arms. Each arm can act semi-independently, capable of thinking, tasting, and moving on its own. An octopus's brain might give a high-level command, like move to that rock, but the arms themselves figure out the specific movements. Escape artists and problem solvers. This unique intelligence makes them masters of manipulation. An octopus can learn to unscrew a jar from the inside to get food. They are notorious in aquariums for escaping their tanks, slipping through tiny cracks, and even sneaking into other tanks at night to eat fish, before returning to their own tank by morning. Play and personality. Octopuses also show signs of play, a behavior once thought to be limited to higher vertebrates. They have been observed repeatedly bouncing a ball against a water jet in their tank, seemingly for no reason other than amusement. They also display distinct personalities. Keepers report that some are curious and playful, while others are grumpy and shy. Our kin, the great apes. The intelligence of great apes, chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, and gorillas, is the most familiar to us. We share a recent common ancestor, and their minds reflect our own in profound ways. Tool use and culture. Chimpanzees have a sophisticated tool culture. In one group, they may learn to use stones to crack nuts. In another, they may develop termite fishing, stripping a twig, and carefully inserting it into a mound to pull out termites. These are not instincts. They are skills learned by observation and passed down from mother to child. This is the definition of culture. Social and emotional intelligence. Apes. live in complex social hierarchies. They form political alliances, console victims of aggression, and show empathy. They are also capable of deception and long-term strategic planning to improve their social standing. Symbolic thought. Apes like Koko, gorilla, and Kanzi, bonobo, have famously learned to use human sign language or lexicograms, symbolic keyboards, to communicate. The biology of the impossible. Life, as we know it, seems to require a very specific and gentle set of conditions. A narrow range of temperatures, a stable supply of liquid water, moderate pressure, and protection from harsh radiation. We call this the Goldilocks zone. Yet, wherever we look, from the boiling, acidic vents of a volcano to the crushing blackness of the ocean floor, to the vacuum of space itself, we find life. These organisms, known as extremophiles, don't just tolerate these hellish conditions. They thrive in them. Their existence fundamentally redefines the rules for life and shows us just how tenacious and adaptable biology can be. The indestructible water bear. Tardigrades. If there is one champion of survival, it is the tardigrade. These microscopic, 8-legged animals, also known as water bears or moss piglets, are so resilient they border on science fiction. The problem: tardigrades live in thin films of water on moss, lichen, and leaf litter. This environment is incredibly unstable. It can dry out completely, freeze solid, or be baked by the sun. The engineering solution. When conditions become unlivable, the tardigrade enters a state of suspended animation called cryptobiosis. It retracts its legs, expels nearly all the water from its body, becoming a desiccated ton, and slows its metabolism to less than 0.01% of its normal rate. In this state, it is virtually indestructible. They're superpowers. A tardigrade in a ton state can survive extreme temperatures, being frozen at negative 272 degrees Celsius, negative 458 degrees Fahrenheit, just 1 degree above absolute 00, or boiled at over 150 degrees Celsius, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Extreme pressure. Pressures up to 6,000 times that of the Earth's atmosphere, far greater than the deepest ocean trench. Extreme dehydration. Decades without a drop of water. Extreme radiation. Doses of X-rays and gamma rays hundreds of times higher than the lethal dose for a human. The vacuum of space. In 2007, tardigrades were taken on a satellite and exposed directly to the vacuum and solar radiation of open space for 10 days. When they were returned to Earth and rehydrated, many of them woke up and even reproduced. life in the dark, deep sea, giants, and vents. The deep ocean floor is a realm of eternal darkness, near freezing temperatures, and bone-crushing pressure. Food is incredibly scarce, as most of it must fall from the epipelagic zone, the sunlit world, above, arriving as a sparse marine snow. The wait for it strategy. Life here has adapted to conserve every calorie. The gulper eel, for example, is mostly a giant, unhinged mouth attached to a tiny body and a whip-like tail. It drifts in the dark, conserving energy, until it bumps into a rare meal, which it can swallow whole, even if it's larger than itself. Gigantism, a strange phenomenon called deep-sea gigantism, occurs here. Creatures that are small near the surface, like crustaceans and isopods, evolve into monstrous versions in the deep. The giant isopod, Bathynomus giganteus, looks like a common woodlouse, or roly-poly, but can grow to be over 30 centimeters, 1 foot long. The leading theories suggest this is an adaptation to the extreme pressure and cold, which slows down metabolism and allows for a longer, slower growth period. The impossible ecosystem. Hydrothermal vents. Perhaps the most alien ecosystems on Earth are hydrothermal vents. These are fissures on the ocean floor, often in total darkness, where superheated, mineral-rich water, over 400 degrees Celsius, 750 degrees Fahrenheit, gushes out from the Earth's crust. When they were discovered in 1977, they shattered our understanding of life. Here, in a world with no sunlight, was a thriving, dense oasis of life. The base of this entire food web is not photosynthesis, but chemosynthesis. Instead of plants, the producers are vast mats of extremophilic bacteria. These microbes eat the toxic, sulfur-rich compounds, like hydrogen sulfide, erupting from the vents, harnessing the chemical energy to create sugars, just as plants use light. This chemical food source supports a bizarre community of giant tube worms, blind crabs, and strange fish. The giant tube worm, Riftia pachyptila, has no mouth, no stomach, and no gut. It's simply a large, fleshy plume rooted in a white, chitinous tube. Its entire body is packed with a special organ, the trophosome, that is filled with symbiotic chemosynthetic bacteria. The worm's bright red plume acts like a gill, absorbing hydrogen sulfide from the vent water and oxygen from the seawater, and delivering these ingredients to the bacteria living inside it. The bacteria, in turn, produce all the food the worm needs to survive. The science of mass migration. Every year, billions of animals, from 80-ton whales to 8-gram birds to half-gram butterflies embark on epic journeys that span continents and oceans. This is migration, a regular, seasonal movement of a population from a breeding area to a feeding area and back. These are not random wanderings. They are precise, instinct-driven, and incredibly dangerous journeys, finely tuned by evolution over millions of years. The animals are pushed by the need to escape a failing food supply or a harsh winter, and they are pulled by the promise of abundant resources and a safe place to raise their young. The feats of endurance and navigation required are among the most astounding in the natural world. The pole to pole champion. The Arctic tern. The Arctic tern, Sterna paradisea, is the undisputed champion of migration. This small, slender seabird, weighing just 100 grams, less than a baseball, experiences 2 summers a year, effectively living in a world of near perpetual daylight. The journey. It breeds during the northern summer in the high Arctic, from Greenland to Siberia. As the northern winter approaches and the days shorten, it begins a 90,000-kilometer, 56,000-mile round-trip flight. It travels all the way down the coast of Africa or South America to spend the other summer feeding in the krill-rich waters of Antarctica. The feat. Over its 30-year lifespan, a single tern may fly more than 2.4 million kilometers, 1.5 million miles, the equivalent of 3 round trips to the moon. It navigates this journey using a combination of the sun's position, the Earth's magnetic field, and a precise internal clock. The land-based epic, the wildebeest. On the plains of the Serengeti in Africa, the largest overland migration on Earth takes place. It is a continuous, clockwise looping search for 2 things: fresh grass and water. The journey. Over 1.5 million wildebeest, accompanied by 500,000 zebras and gazelles, follow the seasonal rains. This massive herd is in constant motion. The journey is famously perilous, especially when it involves crossing rivers, like the Mara. The feat. The river crossings are a spectacle of panicked chaos. The wildebeest must brave fast currents and enormous Nile crocodiles that lie in wait for this annual feast. The sheer, instinctual drive to follow the rains and find fresh pasture is so strong that it forces the herd to risk this deadly gauntlet, ensuring the survival of the population, even at the cost of thousands of individuals. The multi-generational marvel. The monarch. Butterfly. Perhaps the most mysterious and magical migration is that of the North American monarch butterfly. The journey is so long that for most of the butterflies, it's a one-way trip. The journey north. In the spring, monarchs leave their wintering grounds in a specific forest in central Mexico and fly north into the United States and Canada. They stop, lay eggs on milkweed plants, and die. The eggs hatch, grow into butterflies, and fly further north, repeating the process. It takes 3 to 4 successive, short-lived generations to populate the northern extent of their range. The super generation, south. The final generation, born in late summer, is biologically different. This super generation emerges in a state of reproductive diapause. It doesn't mature to reproduce and is built for endurance. These butterflies are the ones that make the entire 3,000-mile journey back to Mexico. The feet. This single generation, which has never been to Mexico, navigates with pinpoint accuracy to the exact same small patch of oyamel fir forest that their great-great-grandparents left months before. They cluster on the trees in such numbers that the branches bow, forming a living, shivering blanket of orange and black. How do they know where to go? The navigational toolkit. This precision navigation, often across thousands of miles of open ocean or unfamiliar land, is achieved using a sophisticated suite of tools that we are only just beginning to understand. The sun compass. Many animals, including birds and butterflies, use the position of the sun as a compass. To do this, they must also have an incredibly accurate internal clock, a circadian rhythm, to compensate for the sun's movement across the sky. The star compass. Nocturnal migrants, like the indigo bunting, use a star compass. They don't navigate by a single star, but by the pattern of constellations rotating around a fixed point. The North Star, Polaris. The magnetic compass, magnetoreception. As discussed earlier, many animals sense the Earth's magnetic field. Sea turtles are a prime example. They can detect both the angle of the magnetic lines, which tells them their latitude, how far north or south they are, and the intensity of the field, which helps them create a magnetic map to find their way.